Hello and welcome back to the Glimmer Witch. So today I have done a new design on my own hands. So thought I would leave in pushing back cuticles, etc. So I have used my e-file to cut down as much length and to thin out that growth area, and I'm now pushing back my cuticles, so just giving them a nice ease back. It does look like I'm quite hard on myself. I think like most nail techs, I probably am. You know, I don't tend to worry so much about hurting myself as I do hurting clients. Still keeping them relatively short, still got stuff going on, still got lots of viewings and house hunting and cleaning, you know, so I decided to keep them short. But I'm going to do a really nice pink set, girly pink, which anyone who knows me knows I'm not. So once I have pushed back the cuticles, I am then coming in with my Skittle bit from Nail Dot Supplies. Absolutely love this bit for cuticle work. If I get a new client in, and especially if they've been to one of the non-standard salons, I tend to use my ball bit just because it's gentle enough to use on skin, and people do tend to be scared of e-files if they've been to those places. However, today I'm going to show you using a sanding band on natural nail, but we're going to do this bit first. We're going to get that bit nice and prepped. It is a little bit harder when you're doing your own, so just make sure we get as much off there as possible. We want a nice clean area. So what I was taught was 3 times at around a speed 3, 4-ish. That's usually what I do it on. On me, I tend to do it a bit more than that because I can, because it's me and I'm only going to hurt myself. But most of the time you can see that that Skittle bit lifts it off the nail plate and pushes it away from that cuticle, which is what you want. Now, please excuse the state of the acrylics underneath here because they are pretty dire, but I've had them on a while. To be fair, my other hand I haven't even infilled, and I did those the Monday before Christmas, and they're still solid, which I'm really pleased about. So obviously my prep work and etc. is working well. So I am using a 180 grit sanding band, and I am using an e-file. I'm just going to e-file this emery board to take the edges off, like so. Now this is on about a speed 2, 3 maybe. If you push hard enough, it literally stops. So it's very gentle. It's not going to do too much damage to your nail plate, and it just literally, we're just using it to take the shine off that nail and to do some gentle scoring to give something for the acrylic to stick to. Now what I don't show after I've done this to all of the nails is I don't show that I also come in with a hand file as well, just to make sure, but it was a quick skip over. Once I have finished with the sanding band, that is then thrown away because we don't use it again. It is disposable. And I then use isopropyl alcohol just to wipe over the nails, get rid of any dust, etc. before we go in with Prep Spray Plus. Sanding bands I got from Amazon. So 180 grit sanding bands. Didn't cost me too much, about £4, you know, for 100, so not too expensive. So there you go. You can see if I press down it just stops because it's on such a low speed. So I wanted to make you aware. Now I've only just started using a sanding band to prep with. It is a new thing for me as well, but after watching Liz Guild and Tracy Lou do it, you know, they can't be wrong, can they? They're absolute goddesses. So I learned too, so I thought I'd give it a go. So just wiping them over with some acetone, actually, I think I used. I'm then going to come in with a lint-free pad and CJP's Prep Spray Plus. The lint-free pad is actually paper waxing strip that I cut up myself. Give them a good clean, make sure they're squeaky. I'm then using CJP's dehydrator and prep. Now I'm applying this on each nail as I put my clear base on. And I'm doing this because I am not going to be double dehydrating. I am literally, there's no primer because I'm using the one monomer. So I pick my bead up, place it at the cuticle, wait for a count of 3 for it to polymerise. And then I'm just going to tap around, get it nice and flush in that cuticle area, swipe down the side, there we go. And then pull the rest of that clear bead down. This clear bead gives me a nice base to file back to when I want to redesign. And it is also, clear is the strongest acrylic. It's also the most adhesive because there's no pigment in there. So doing this little clear base just gives you that additional strength and stickiness that you need. Thank you to my new subscribers. I've got some more. Thank you for watching. Welcome. You know, I hope all of this is of any help whatsoever. I do hope you've all got yourself a cup of coffee because it is a long video. 30 minutes, over 30 minutes this one. So I'm going to do this on all 5 of the nails. Just put my clear base on. So dehydrator on, only on the natural nail growth, remember. Let it dry before you apply that bead. Pick up a small bead of clear acrylic. Drain it on the back of the tissue for a count of 3. This is for CJP only, guys. I can't tell you about other systems because it's the only one I use. And then give it a count of 3. And then, you know, point your brush between the skin and the acrylic. And that way you won't get it on your skin. So by the time you've burped your brush, done a count of 3, put it in your acrylic, count to 3, pull it out, wait 3, put it on the nail, wait 3, your dehydrator's dry. Perfect. So again, just get it in there, use the point of the brush, get between that skin and the acrylic, swipe it down. So before anyone says anything, no, I'm not an expert. I'm like you. I'm still learning. I still fuck up. I fuck up a lot, to be fair. Lots of things could affect it. Sometimes you just have a bad day. But, you know, I'm still learning. I'm still trialing. And I figured that some of you would be able to learn from me maybe. So that's why I do it. I'm not an expert. This is just the way that I work. So against my own rules, I actually did my left hand first. I normally do my non-dominant hand, but I wanted to film this one to get some content on. So I thought I'd do this hand. So the other hand currently has nothing on it other than the remnants of the acrylic I had before Christmas. But I have a couple of repairs in today, so need to get them done first, and then I'll possibly do my other hand tonight. So, ring finger, I am doing with white acrylic. I'm using coconut milk from CJP. Little bit of glitter in there, can you see that? It gets everywhere, doesn't it? And I'm using Tracy Lou's Pink Passion glitter today because I wanted pink. I wanted pink and flowery and hearts. Not hearts, because there aren't actually any hearts in it, but you know, something Valentine's Day-ish, but not red, because I don't like red nails. Not on me anyway. I'll do them on anyone else, but not on me. So I'm just getting that coverage where I need it on that cuticle end, because that will be left white. We are then, or I am then, going to do a 3D rose on that cuticle end, but on the free edge we are using Tracy Lou's Pink Passion glitter. So I'm getting that last bead on there, just tucking it in, pulling it down. If I go out of shot at any point, I apologise. Purely because I'm working on my own hand. So once that's done, small bead, tiny bead of clear acrylic, straight into that raw glitter. Pop that on that free edge, wiggle it around and start moving those pieces around to where I want them. I want a nice glitter fade, but I don't want it too far up because we're going to put that rose and some caviar beads around that cuticle. Yes, I have just lit a cigarette. Have me coffee, a cigarette before my client comes. I'm terrible, you know, when I'm waiting for people. I smoke far too much. So I just went back and got some more of that glitter, just nudging it into place. A lot of people think you get your glitter and you just whack it on. You don't. You need to place it where you want it to be. So for me, this is quite a chunky glitter. I'm trying to get the smaller bits up near that cuticle and get rid of some of the big bits. And I just want to make sure it's going to lay flat because you don't want to be cutting into your glitter when you file. So just nudge it around and then I will leave that to set while I do the other fingers, and I will come back and cap later. So on this finger we are doing an ombre. I am using Flamingo from CJP. So the first bead goes on at that free edge, sort of halfway up, blend it back, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to pull the rest of the product down to that free edge. I'm going to do this in more than one bead. I'm going to build it up gradually. I have to be careful because obviously these are quite short for me. So the shorter the nail, the trickier it is to ombre. So just work in small beads. It's the best way to do it. So that one went on, just blending it back. Just notice the little tiny pink dot of acrylic on the palm of my hand. So I do know that I've got some ladies joined recently that are of my age range. Welcome. Isn't it a bugger? Isn't this age just shitty? I discovered the other day that I have got a lump on the palm of my hand, my right hand. And I wasn't sure what it was. And then... you know, you do your panic thing. And then I had a look, and it's a long, weird name that I'm not even going to try and pronounce, but basically it's because I'm bloody old. And it's where the tendon bunches up in your palm of your hands. So eventually your fingers start curling. Isn't that nice? Because, you know, fibro, anxiety, depression, autoimmune condition of the thyroid, osteoarthritis in my fingers, and now this weird lump that apparently means I'm going to have croggled hands like my mother. I blame her, it's her genes. So on this finger we are doing a base of that Flamingo, and we are then going to use that Tracy Lou glitter to fade up. So tiny bead of acrylic, and I've just left it out on this wide view because I go out of shot quite a bit, so I saved what I could. So just nudging that glitter around until I've got it where I want it, or relatively where I want it. Problem I'm having with these nails in, I've lost quite a lot of the C curve now because I've cut them down and filed them off and redone them so many times. So what I do at the end, after I've done the nails, I come in with my drill bit and I just drill out underneath and put the C curve back in, just so they're not too thick on the ends. I'm actually getting used to having shorter nails on again, so it's not a bad thing. So onto the thumb, this will also be an ombre. You will notice that I am doing the bottom colour of my ombre first, and I'm allowing that to set before I go in with my nude. That is purely my preference. I just feel I get a better blend if I do that. I tend to find that if I do them wet and try and blend them wet, it's harder for me. So I just do it this way. It also means that I can move that beautiful bright pink out of the way because I will knock it over. So yeah, get all my darker colour done first. So just smoothing that out to make sure we haven't got any patches or lines or thin bits. I am using my size 10 Tracy Lou brush today because I was working on me, and I do tend to use smaller beads if I'm doing short nails on myself. So I'm using my size 10. A little bit more colour there. Very wet bead, that one. It's literally just to smooth over. And then the same on the little finger. So first bead goes on at the free edge. Blend that back. Get that bit done. If you blend it back, you're more likely to get a nice blend rather than a sharp line. You do not want a sharp line. Me personally, there's nothing worse than having a nail that looks like a squashy. If you don't know what a squashy is, Google it. You'll know what I mean as soon as you Google it and you see it. You want to have that transition between one colour and the next. You don't want a sharp, harsh line. Although this one wasn't the best anyway, my little finger, but you know. Okay, so moving on. We then go for birthday suit. So that's my preference. So the first bead goes on at that blend area. Tap, tap out to the side, and then I'm going to pull the front of that bead down. I'm not too worried if I pull it down too far because I can come in and re-add the colour in. And if anything, I actually did that one a little bit too much. But it's fine because I'm going to come in with my cuticle bead in a minute. And I went for pink just to be different. I just wanted a bright colour. So on that bead, you can see I've put it up a little bit too close to that cuticle. So I've then used my brush to pull that bead forward a little bit, and then go in and pull the rest forward. See, I'm not perfect, make mistakes. I'm then going to use my brush just like that. Use the point of your brush to go around and just make sure you haven't got any on the skin. So apologies for going out of shot. So you can see I haven't got that blend quite right on that finger. But do you know what? It's nice. It's okay. It'll do. It'll do. So today was my first day of redoing the school run now that my son's out of action and can't bike. So in case you didn't know, he came off his bike last week and he's managed to dislocate and possibly fracture his knee. We can't do anything at the minute. He's now in a moving splint, but he can't bike, he can't do anything really. He is back at school, but he needs to have an MRI scan. So potentially, if he has fractured it, we're looking at between 12 and maybe 20 weeks of a cast or surgery or, you know, healing time. So we're hoping, actually, which might sound weird, that it's fractured because it's quicker for a fracture to heal than it is for a dislocation. So at the minute, we're in limbo. He's not having his MRI until the 23rd. So we're going away on holiday at half term in his splint with his crutches. And then when we get back, he's got his MRI scan and then fracture clinic, and we'll know where to go from there. So you can see on that thumb, I flooded that cuticle again a little bit. And that's purely because I've gone up too high and I wasn't pointing my thumb down, which is something I do when I'm doing my own nails. I tend to forget. So I'm just going in and cleaning it up, look. Just making sure there's no product on that skin. Because if there's a tiny, tiny bit of product on that skin, it will lift. Guaranteed. So I then come in with a little bit of that Flamingo on the tip and I blend it back just to help that fade a little bit. I sometimes tend to lose some of my colour because I blend that nude too far down. Bloody love these nails though. I really do. It's a shame they're not both the same at the minute. And they probably won't be, because by the time I get around to doing the other one, there'll be something else that I want to do. So no guarantees. So I'm just capping with clear there on that thumb, and then straight on to the little finger. So I go in with one bead at the cuticle. I then realise that I have pulled that bead too far down and I've lost the coverage. You can see it on that side. But I go and add another bead in and then cap it. I then go on to filing. I have sped up the rest of this video because it is very long. You've got another 11 minutes yet. So I've sped up the filing, but very, very simple, all hand filed. I'm using a Tracy Lou 100 180 grit file because they're my favourite, and I am using a CJP pink buffer. I file and buff all the nails into shape. Don't take a lot. When you're quite neat, once you get in the habit of building your nail with your acrylic, shape it with your acrylic, and then you won't have to file so much. So just making sure that that extension's coming straight out from that side wall. Some of mine are a little bit iffy, just because I've faffed with them so much. Anyone else hate filing their own nails? It's a ball ache. The other hand's worse. I hate filing the other hand. You can see in my top bit there, I keep all of my metal drill bits in barbicide, and I throw away the sanding band and pop the mandrel in there as well. I have a separate jar, just a jam jar, that's all, nothing special. I have a jam jar with my cuticle nippers and cuticle pusher and scissors in. That's changed every day. The things are washed every day. Clean liquid the following day. So we're then going to build our little rose. So I'll try and explain this as best I can. I am using my CJP Precise brush, I think it is. I'm picking up a small bead of that magenta, and I am making a long sausage type length. Don't have it too wide. If you have it too wide, it will be too high off the top of your nail. So bear that in mind when you're pressing it out. And all I'm doing is I'm pressing this out until it gets to a point where it's not bouncing back at me anymore, because then I know it's set. Once it is set, once I have got the length that I want, I then wet my brush, wipe it off, and then wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I'm using the paper off the back of a form to do this on. It comes in very useful for stuff like this. And you just pick it up and you just roll it like a Swiss roll. In cooking class when you're at school, do you remember that? Mine was shocking. Mine broke. It was just rubbish. So I've got my little tube. I get a tiny little bead of that magenta. Sorry, Flamingo, not magenta. And then you're going to stand it on its end. Okay, so you've got like that little inner bit of that rosebud. You then get another bead of pink acrylic. Now you need to work quite dry, because every time you touch that acrylic, if you've got liquid in your brush, you're putting liquid back into it. So you want to keep it as dry as possible. I'm doing 2 at a time because I'm quick enough now that I know how long I've got before it starts setting. So what I'm aiming for is a D shape. So flat on one edge, D-shaped on the other, and I just press it out until it stops bouncing back at me. And that will give you your petal shape. It does not have to be perfect. They don't even have to be completely rounded, to be honest. Roses vary. You know, that's what makes them so easy to do. Well, not easy to do, but so effective. So I keep pressing, getting my brush in there. And then when I feel it's ready, I will wet my brush. I will get it to a point. Get my third one out, look. And then underneath. So at this point, this one sort of flips a little bit. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it tears. It doesn't matter if it's a bit raggedy on one edge. It just adds to it. So we put that in and we just push each side around that bud area, because that first one goes in. When you then take your second one, you're going to put the middle of that one at the point where the other one joins. Do you follow? So I'm just doing another petal here. I'm not doing a massive one because I don't want a full-on rose. I want a rose bud. So that one, right in the middle of that, goes into that join area. And then your brush will help stick it. So just turn my paper around to make it a bit easier. You can do this on the nail. I find it easier to do it on my paper. And then you can just use the tip of your brush to push that edge of that petal over. So here comes in with our last one. That goes in the middle. See how that flipped over? Doesn't matter. Lay it flat and then push it up. And then pull the edges down. So it sticks at the bottom. Look at that, nice and easy. Once that has set, you can then pop that off that backing paper. So I am using clear acrylic to stick this onto that ring finger. So bead of clear acrylic, nice dry bead. You want it quite high. I am then going to use the caviar pearls. Now I'm using my cuticle, my pinching tool to pick it up, only because my tweezers weren't to hand. So I get it on the nail and then I just tidy up the acrylic underneath and we are done. I am then going to use the Manicure Company clear hard gel to attach my cuticle beads. So I'm using these caviar beads. I'm getting some of the clear gel. I have got some isopropyl alcohol in a little jar to clean my brush with, and I'm putting a layer of that around that rose. And what this is going to do, one, it adds to the effect. Two, it fills in those gaps underneath that rose and stops you catching it all the time. I mean, it's 3D. It is going to catch on things if you're not careful, but this minimises it and reduces the chances of you losing it. And by using a hard gel, once you cure it, it sets in place. So it's a lot easier for me than using glue. So I just get that on there and then I just push those beads to where I want them. And then I come in and add more gel. There we go. I'm just going to take it all the way around the bottom of that rose and fill those gaps in. Once I have got those where I need them, I then used my torch that I got with my hand dolly hand to flash cure it just to keep it in place while I did the stones on the middle finger. Don't forget, when I do 3D and caviar beads and gems, I do not top coat over them. It ruins it. In my, if you do a beautiful 3D flower, don't top coat it because you're going to lose all of your detail. It just looks awful. And if you're coating over the top of Swarovski crystals, you're going to ruin your crystals. So nice big bead of that hard gel. And I'm going to push because some of these stones are not flat back stones. So you need something to push them into. You can do it with acrylic if you're fast enough. That was me trying to use my crystal katana. So I'm just pushing it into that gel. I couldn't find my white wax pencil, which I normally use. So yeah, I used my crystal katana. Now what I did was I just used a random selection of gems and pearls to do this cluster. And then once I'd got all my gems on, I then made it into sort of a heart shape by pushing into the gel, which is the beauty with gel. It's not going to set until you cure it, which I really like. My crystal katana I got from CJP, but I do tend to use my white pencil. So that's me faffing around because I wasn't happy with where I'd placed them. That's the beauty of gel. You just move them around until you are. Love it. I then fill in the gaps with some tiny little ones, which I don't think I show. Anyway, once we have done that, I clean over all of the nails, and we are then going to top coat. I use a tiny detailing brush to top coat around all those gems and into those nooks and crannies to make sure that it's all covered. They then go into the lamp for 60 seconds. I allow them to cool before they come out. I think I have left the video in of my top coating, and then I apply cuticle oil and take the photo, and that is that hand done. Let's see if I can get the other one done. So I'm off. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Hope your coffee was good, and I will be back very soon. Bye bye.